Fear and uncertainty gripped most of Rosedale on the morning of September 7, 1923. What the black people there read in the paper was unlike anything they had ever seen, even in the Deep South. Mayor Joseph Caulfield told the Johnstown Democrat he'd ordered all black and Mexican people who lived in town for less than 7 years to leave the city, threatening to use the force of law to make sure his dictate was followed. How had it come to this? It couldn't have just been the shooting of the police officers. Why 7 years? All of the residents in Rosedale, the black neighborhood in Johnstown, asked those questions among themselves. Tension was in the air the past few years, but this mandate was unprecedented. Those being kicked out of town already knew Mayor Caulfield to be vindictive, but some were determined to stay in the city, regardless of the order. Many, however, were afraid and made plans to leave before things got worse. Johnstown was a city on edge in the 1920s. A lot of it had to do with the influx of different groups and ethnicities that poured into it during the decades following the Civil War. That, combined with booming industry, created a potential for civil unrest. Johnstown had a population of 67,327 in 1920, and by 1923, some estimates pegged it as high as 100,000. The first settlers were Welsh, followed by the Irish, then the Hungarians, Poles, Slavs, Czechs, and Italians. After the war ended, African Americans and Mexicans settled in the area. In the social strata of Johnstown, Welsh, Irish, German, English, Scottish, and Swedish immigrants were higher up than the Poles, Slovenians, Croatians, Serbians, Slovaks, Slavs, and Italians. Black people and Mexicans were at the very bottom. The quality of housing corresponded to that social strata, according to Eva Moravska's essay, Johnstown's Ethnic Groups, in the local history book Johnstown, Story of a Unique Valley. The Irish, Germans, and Welsh founded the earliest ethnic social clubs and organizations. These groups assimilated into Johnstown and became the most powerful, well-established factions in the city. Jewish immigrants also came after fleeing persecution in Europe. They were predominantly peddlers and merchants. Jews were excluded from most jobs, including those in the steel mill. The Cambria Iron Works, the primary steel mill in the city, became more successful as the decades progressed, and its need for unskilled labor increased. At the same time, a large number of immigrants from southern and eastern European countries began coming to the country. They wanted to save money to build a better life back in Europe. The men came alone before sending for their families. Only about a third of them went back to Europe.